wrapped up a project recently. Oh, what a mess. I wrapped up a project recently called Incentifi. And I'm basically just going to run you through sort of my design decisions of why I made it today. Going through the logo design, the creative directions, and yeah, just going to have a little bit of fun. Take you through the project. Just recently had it animated, so it looks cool. Well, a few experimental animations. I've had about 8 cups of tea today, so I'm just having a little Heineken Zero while I share this with you. It'll be 2 years next week of my sobriety. 2 years of no alcohol next week, so congratulating myself. But yeah, let's get into it. So for context, incentifi is a health, rewards and travel platform. Essentially, users of the platform will log daily steps, runs, workouts, mindful challenges like journaling, and in return they'll rack up points which they can use to get discounts off travel, holidays, hotels, and also like food vouchers and shopping vouchers, but really, really good incentive. Coming up with the logo design and the whole branding for it was a challenge, but we made great progress with it, and it just clicked with me. And this is what now I'm going to show you with the logo design. Coming up with the logo design, I got it within 5 tries, and that never ever happens. But I'm going to show you how I came up with it. So yeah, like I said, the brand fits in this health, I have to spell health, rewards, and travel industry. So it sits within these 3 industries, right? So I've got a lot to work with. You know, health could be heart, could be movement, jumping. Rewards is typically trophy, stars. Travel, plane, sky, clouds. So instantly I knew rewards. I was going to try and come up with a mark with three symbols of these industries, right? So I was thinking, right, well, what can I do here? Heart, health, you know, movement. Excuse the horrendous icon there. Health, what else? You know, all these different things, right? And then rewards, it was a star. Apologies for that. Star. Could it be a trophy? Travel. Plane. Cloud. Sunrise. Sun in the sky. So I had all these different things I was trying out, all these different icons, right? But I really loved a star. I love anything. I love a star as a symbol because a star is a beautifully balanced shape. A lot of logos have stars in them, incorporate stars into the negative space, different ways they can display it. But I also then, like I said here, I had these 3 different things here. But then also what it occurred to me was the brand name, Incentifi. The initial is an I, right? An I. So I was like, how can I get an I in there as well? Because adding a initial into the brand mark can hold a lot of brand equity. It can make it instantly recognizable to people, like that it's a part of that brand. So I was really liking that star. So I was like, right, well, there's a star here. Let's have a look. Star. Lovely shape. Excuse this, I'm not very good at free-handing things quite straight away. I was like, there's a star there. Now how can I incorporate like a plane, heart? Could you make it like a heart like this? And then a star? And then that just makes the heartogram. If you've ever heard of the band Him or Bam Margera, you'll know that symbol, so obviously can't do that. But I was really loving this star and I wanted to try and incorporate something. So I was like, well, how can I fit an eye into there? How can I get an eye in there, you know? Is there any way I can fit an eye? And then I was looking at this, I was like, when I made this sort of split, I kind of saw a person doing a jump as soon as I added the top of the eye in there. I was like, oh, well, how can I explore that further? And then I was like, right, well, if I can make sort of split the star into two like this, as you'll see now, I can split the star into two, kind of like this. And then add that eye on top, get rid of the top. And I was like, oh, no way. I've got a star for rewards. I've got an eye in there for incentifi. But what actually happens when you carve out this negative space and add the eye in there? It gives the composition of somebody doing a star jump, which ties back in to the health part of the brand. So I've got the health, I've got the rewards, and I have an eye. Now we're just missing the travel, which is fine because a logo doesn't have to show everything. But what I did notice was it kind of had, if you look here, you've got an arrow there, which is very hidden, but an arrow going forward, which kind of looks like a plane or a direction of movement, which relates to travel. But I wasn't too fussed that I didn't have the travel in there because I've got three beautiful meanings. A logo doesn't have to completely encompass everything that the brand is. So I landed on this concept, as you can see. And that was it. I was like, right, I wanted to explore this further. However, then I went and explored loads of other different ones, but literally none of them even came fractionally close to what I landed on here. So I knew then to whip this into Illustrator. Also, if you're wondering what this fabulous pencil is, I decided to treat myself to some black wings, and they are awesome. Black wing pearls, got them off Amazon. It was like £32 for 12. That's the most amount of money I've ever spent on a pencil. Well, got 12 of them, so it's all right. But yeah, they're really good sketching pencils. And then it was a case of basically bringing this into Illustrator, gridding it up, creating the star. So obviously I just used the Illustrator tool to create the star, brought the eye in and created the zero. It's all perfectly balanced and beautiful. However, it did take quite a few iterations to sort of get the thing right. So as I'll show you in a minute, the first one I presented, which for some reason is missing, but it just, you'll see here, the first one presented, is that the first one? Yeah. The head was just a little bit too small. The space within the negative space here was just a little bit too thin. So when you zoomed it out, turned it to white, you can see, I don't know if you wouldn't be able to see properly there, but it just looked a bit too thin, a bit too crammed together. So I was basically testing different variations of width of negative space within the eye, different head sizes, just to make it look the most balanced, and also rounding off the corners of the star. Did we want to keep it super sharp? Did we want it rounded at 2 points? Did we want it rounded at 4 points? As you can see, super rounded corners there. This was it with the larger head. This was it with a larger head and larger middle cut. That was slightly too large. And we ended up landing on this one, which was the final mark with the perfect balance of head size, the perfect width within the middle, the negative space that forms the eye. So it was just a lot of testing, iterations, and getting to the final version. Also playing with different typefaces to use for the word mark. So yeah, that was the logo design done. And then I just went on to create two sort of creative directions for the brand, which was basically two different visual identity styles of how it could look. And because basically it's kind of, there was this brand, it's quite complex because it's an energetic brand. It's all about movement and wellness and motivation and feeling good. But it was about mindfulness. It was about, a clear head. Those two things can be very different visually. A brand is all about the feeling. So I created two creative directions to see which Paul and James, the co-founders, leaned more into. And this is what I presented to them. So after running through the purpose of the brand, the mission, the vision, the values, the brand personality, how we speak, brand archetypes, how we want people to feel. So as you can see, this is how I presented the logo design. I put the star. Why do we want a star? Put simply, a star is most associated with rewards. And then plus incentifi. Why do we want the I? Well, having our initial in the logo shows how proud we are. Equals, well, we need movement in this logo, but how can we, where will this other meaning come from? So what happens when we combine a star with incentifi's initial? Boom. And that's when I revealed the logo to Paul. Now, this was the first version of it with the slightly smaller head, and the negative space was a bit too thin. So we revised it after this presentation. And look, combining the star and the initial, it forms the composition of a person doing a jump, perfectly represented in incentifi. So you've got the star, you've got the initial, and you've got movement. Paul absolutely loved this when I presented it to him. This was a test logo type. This wasn't the final one. But anyway, these were the creative directions then. So this was a creative direction I presented. It's called like flow state. It captures the calm, confidence and momentum of this brand using this gradient palette. Sort of a really nice clean sans serif typeface, which is General Sans. Really clean art direction photography. I originally had in this these sort of connecting dots to represent movement and travel, which we scrapped in the sort of the final direction. And originally the gradient had this yellow in it as well. I'm saying originally as if like you already know what this looks like. If you've been on my Instagram, you do. But I'll show you the final one. The color palette, so you can see it's this white color palette with the beautiful gradient, and then just showing basically how it looks. Now the reason I chose this gradient was to represent this journey map, this feeling a user will take. Now as you can see, it's not very nice here, the gradient. It's not blended very well. But like I say, this was proof of concept essentially. And then this was creative direction too. This was more about movement. I called this one Next Step. It's more bold, action-led, progress-orientated. It's built up using a gridded layout, which, you know, images can go into. These arrows and circles all represent like dynamic movement. I really liked this. It was really nice. And I think this would work really well for another brand. This kind of gridded layout with all these beautiful icons. And I really love how these all turned out. But ultimately, the first direction was chosen. And ultimately, the first direction was chosen because it just felt right. And that's what branding is. It's a feeling. You know, both of those directions could work perfectly well based off the brief. They both nail the brief. But one feels better for the brand. Now, the first direction was chosen, but we revised it a lot to get to the final output, which I'll show you now. I'm actually just going to show you the case study off my website. It's much easier for me to show you the final identity. So you can see just from that billboard alone, it looks very different. We kind of blended the two directions together. We wanted the mindfulness feeling of that first one. We loved the gradient palette, but we wanted a bit more energy, a bit of energy from the second direction coming in. So you can see here, we've got the gradient more focusing on the blue with highlights of pink and green. I'm showing you the case study straight off my portfolio here, so you'll see the animations and stuff. Just for the portfolio, I showed like the brand strategy document here. Now here, this is just, oh, I love it. Look at this. Wait, let it reload. This was the logo animation. Oh, beautiful. You can see the head carving out the eye within the star, and it feels exactly like how I designed it. You've got the gradients moving beautifully in the background, representing that feeling of flow and the journey the user takes going through the app. And the reason we chose this gradient is each color represents which industry the brand sits in. So you've got the blue for travel, the green for health, the pink for awards, and it just all works beautifully. And yeah, so that was the intro. And there's the logo design finally, and again, more reasoning for it. This was the final logo type I chose for it. It's based off General Sans with a customization to the T and the F. The General Sans has an upwards T and an upwards F here, but I flattened them down and made them more curved. So it just felt a lot nicer. So that was the final logo type. And then this is my attempt at animation, just showing the logo all gridded up, but it looks awesome. And then for the tagline, we came up with this tagline. We wanted the tagline to be really obvious to what the brand is. rewarding wellness, inspiring with travel. And obviously, again, you can see this beautiful animation for it here. Shout out my boy Chris from Natively Ornate, who did these animations for me. He's an absolute wizard. And then, yeah, just displaying that tagline again. Taglines are great for just showing, if people aren't familiar with the brand, it's a great way of getting people familiar with the brand straight up. And then this was my attempt at an animation which just shows the typeface we used, which was General Sans. It's a one typeface system brand, so it's just General Sans for everything, just using all different weights. General Sans medium, semi-bold, semi-bold italic and bold. It's a beautiful typeface which really represents sort of a clean minimalist feel, and it really represents the tone of the voice of the brand. It visualizes it basically. And then you can see here the visual identity now more in go, the art direction style, the dynamic text layouts. And then, yeah, this is just me representing the different colour, why we chose the colour palette, which is the intersection of rewards, travel and health. And then, yeah, and then just some mock-ups here to show you how the identity looked. And then the beautiful UI, which was created by a web developer, and then I just incorporate the different colours to it. Love how we can use the gradient to come in from the side here for like business cards and print materials and stuff. And then again, social media graphics, and again, billboards, how that logo looks on a hat. Like Alan Peters says, if the logo looks good on a hat and you wear it, it's a good logo. And then just made all these other billboards just to show the visual identity coming to life here, as you can see. And I'll show you a few more animations, but I just love it. It just all works so well, and you can see how different it is from the two creative directions proposed, and how it's always good to present 2 or 3, and then you can even combine them and get to a really good final output. So I'm super stoked with how this turned out. Like, it's one of my favourite projects I've worked on, not just because of the identity, but working with Paul, the industry it's in. Paul's a great guy. He's a super passionate founder, and me and him just gelled as soon as we sort of got onto a call. And yeah, it's just been great. And I've really enjoyed working with an animator on this, bringing it to life. I'll show you a few more animations we've done. I need to update the portfolio with it. But yeah, and what this project has actually made me realise is I've been doing this 2 years now, and I've worked on so many different brands in so many different industries. But what I've found is that what lights me up is working sort of on brands within the health, fitness, sport, wellness space. So my studio, Highful Minds, now is, I think, need to roll it out, but I do think I'm going to be niching down now finally into sort of health, wellness and sports brands, because that's where I find it's just me. I'm so into self-development, I'm so into wellness, I'm so into running. It just makes sense for me, and it makes sense that I light up in those areas. So I'm going to be focusing my studio into those places. So yeah, that was Incentifi. I hope you like the project as much as I loved working on it. And yeah, it's also good to be back. I've not made a video in a while. And if you enjoyed this video, if you got to the end, comment journey, and I know you've got to the end. But that being said, I'll see you hopefully next week.